Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to MTG Arena. Today is Wednesday, October 30th. We're testing out our new Angelic Army version 1.1. It's a deck that mostly is around the idea of just getting more and more health, and there's only one real card that works to do damage because you have high health. Otherwise, it is mostly around the idea of just having a bunch of creatures, generally speaking 1/1 attack creatures on the field, and trying to overwhelm the player while maintaining a high health, which inevitably means you're playing a longer game than I think I personally would ever want to play. So what we want to see here is if we can get a plane, that would be nice, but I only want to mulligan once. Alright, so keep that. Law Mage's Bindings works pretty well. Extra life works pretty well. This is probably the one to get rid of. So yeah, play this, that way this enters the field untapped, and then this ability will let you create cards for 4 mana, create a 1/1 white human creature, if that's all that we need done, which might be all that we can do or all that we would do. And then once we get this on the field, then we can play a land like this and heal and get 2 health instead of 1. So that gives you +2 to 23 because of this. Although the way this animates is a little bit weird because it doesn't fully explain it. Like, you would think it would put this card behind that card's ability to show why you get a +1, or it would put like a +1 animation somewhere, but it still wouldn't explain why this card is that way. Right. Elementals you control. Whenever the land is a battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter. Alright, well, I think this is the perfect candidate. Right. Let's do this. So put that on the field, and then put that on the battlefield, and then attack. We'll hit it with this next turn. If it is just going to be a face-for-face race, my deck probably will win, because a red deck that is all about aggro, yeah, that's not going to work for him. Alright, let's do this. Let's see. Go ahead and tap for a white mana, and then target this guy while we're at it. That way we can use the mana if he's going to destroy my heroic banner. So I get more use out of it. That was some decent strategy, if I don't say so myself. Here's the game ender. 6 mana gives you +1/+1 equal to your health, so +22/+22 at the moment. What does Neoform do? Sacrifice a creature, search your library for cards with the converted mana cost. Interesting. That's an interesting idea. When Gullus Tireless Pilgrim enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, put it into the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Spend 1 of each color plus 2 extra, exile 3 cards from your library. You may also play them this turn without paying the mana cost. Ooh. That's a cool concept. I wish I had that card. Alright. Do I have enough to have played this? Probably. Maybe. Why didn't it let me? I probably... Oh, because it was tapped. So this is not the one you want to tap. So I'm gonna have to learn that the order is always play this ability first, if that's what you want to use, then move forward and cast other spells. So play this ability to then do that, put that on the field. Then lifelink. Then what do we want to attack with? Nothing. But we can now defend. So he just did the ability where he exiled 3 cards. He's going to play him out of his hand. Interesting. This might be the end for me. Whenever a white creature attacks, +1. If I could get this on the field and cast this in one turn, that would be amazing, but I don't think that actually works. Why does this one get... So now it's a +4/+4 because I have over 25 health. Interesting. Forgot about that ability. Alright, let's come over here and look at my Twitter feed. One of the major charity live stream drives is going on right now, so a lot of stuff is around that. Seems, depending on your opinion, Kotaku is falling apart. I think there's probably been a long instances in which it was pretty obvious that Kotaku and Gawker Media in general was just not making enough money, and So it seems like half of the problem is oh man, I don't want to do either one of those, but I guess I have to.
Another time, Planeswalk, my intellect is without limit.
Like, so half of it seems to be around the idea that they are putting in these horrible inline ads or non-skippable ads, and then half of it seems to be around them specifically, just the management telling them to stay in their lane and not post things that are, I guess, SJWE is the best way to phrase that. And they're not super happy about that as a concept being a requirement. Right. No. So the answer to this is obviously no. And apparently, so yeah, they want people at Kotaku to only tweet about video games and nothing else, no politics, no Hong Kong stuff, things like that, generally speaking. And somebody posted something that the management didn't like, and it got deleted, which is a just immediate death knell for journalistic independence, for better or for worse, for these Gawker news sites. If journalists can't say what they want to say, then I mean, honestly, if you're a manager and somebody says something or tweets something you don't agree with, it's probably better just to fire them straight up than delete the tweet, because you're going down that same path anyways. Like, deleting the tweet or saying, hey, I need you to take that down, probably happens a lot more than people actually would ever realize. But once it gets out that that's happening, it's because somebody's really mad. I think a lot of people, though, have long since stopped reading Kotaku articles just for their low quality, not for any other reasons. And yeah, if this was a major blow to mainstream video game journalism, it's probably fine. Like, that's where this is going anyways. We kind of all know that's where this is going, is that the world doesn't need people who are getting early access to, let's see, what do I want to get rid of? I guess we'll just get rid of
I have other
that.
schemes to attend. You have no weakness I cannot exploit.
That might have been a mistake, but it's probably not. This guy sucks. If I play this, will I have enough mana? No. There we go, 32. Choose attacker. There we go. Meanwhile, I'm going to also attack this and also attack this and also attack this, I guess. And I hope not attack with that actually. Oh, I forgot I heal every time I attack, so I should have potentially attacked. But we'll put this on the field next turn. Yeah. There's enough of the next generation of just kind of independent games journalists on YouTube, Twitter, streamers in general are doing most of the work as far as reviewing games, which is what I think most people care about. Now, certainly, if all mainstream video game journalists went away, there would be people. There would not be as many people that have connections to get leaks or talk with the industry insiders and get interviews and things like that. But in a lot of ways, those people could leak the same information they're leaking themselves out if they want to, or just go on podcasts and go on their own podcast and talk about what they're doing as far as interviews go. Even an interview from mainstream video game journalism is often just an opportunity for them to push the narrative one way or the other, and that's probably true for all journalism. But yeah, it's not like interviewing a politician where you're potentially trying to get the truth out of a politician, which is almost an impossible task. Talking to a video game designer or a developer, they usually aren't so hostile. They usually aren't actively trying to. Jeez, look at all those hands. Like, is this the card that lets you have unlimited amount of cards in your hand? I guess it does. Like he's going for every card possible. This is crazy.
Suffer for your cause.
Is there anything I could play out of the graveyard? I don't think so. So yeah, we would lose something if that stopped happening, but mostly we would just lose garbage if all sites like Kotaku disappeared. And Kotaku in general is much more on the garbage side of the scale than a useful news source. It's not even really, in my opinion, worth following, so you can filter out the garbage to get an occasional gem of information. If Kotaku does have a good article, which happens once in a blue moon, Tech Raptor, Gamasutra, which Gamasutra are shills certainly for GDC all the time. Gamatsu even, like that information comes out and gets re-reported. So I would much more suggest going with a secondary source. Alright. This. And then heal. And then I'm gonna hit that. I wish I could undo that because I wanted to use this ability, but I don't think it matters. This might have been the better card to deal with. Moving on with other bits of news, Basa is giving away 3 new games with Bossa Presents, which I don't know who Bossa is, but Pigeon Simulator, Trash Bandit, and I Am Fish all seem like they are pretty simplistic games. You have to download them from their website though, so it's not free on Steam, so it really doesn't matter to me. This guy's taking a sweet time when probably, like, my only real strategy here would be to get rid of his cards, and he seems like he has plenty of cards still. Alright. Exile a card. Need my mana. I think I need the mana.
Witness a mote of my power.
He gets +1 defense every time he exiles a card.
You've already lost. You just don't know it yet. Decisions.
Yeah, I have nothing in my deck that would make this win for me. It's just playing.
Not to brag, but
I guess this will be an interesting experiment of just how many planeswalkers. Let's see. Whenever an elemental enters the battlefield, you control look at the top cards in your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't put that card into your hand. So he's trying to get every single land card, which I guess the idea here is if he may have a deck that is totally full of land cards, just trying to buff up this character, but he's not really doing an amazingly good job at it, because it's hardly like this guy's getting up to a 20-25 attack. Meanwhile, his hand is just getting full of cards. So he's down to 15 and I'm still at 40, but I don't think I inherently would be able to survive. What I need him to do is totally make a mistake here. And he's doing that like maybe 7 times. Should be 4 times. Every time he plays a card, he'll draw 4 more cards. Times 3, which might be 12. So, yeah, he's gonna lose. Hey, he's gonna lose. What are you doing? Let's see. Oops. It's like you've drawn all your cards. What? What just happened there? They so need a log recorder. I have no idea why I just lost there. He should have lost. Absolutely. There were more cards that he needed to draw, unless he had just calculated it exactly to to that. Or maybe there was a planeswalker ability that says if you're about to die to drawing your opponent dies. That would be crazy. I have no idea. That feels like that was a glitch. Well, we got 500 XP and another mastery orb, so I suppose that means we can just stick that there and we'll just get more of these skins. While we're over here, let's go over to this deck and edit this deck. Let's see. Let's select this card back and try that. Since we've got 4 card backs, we might as well spice it up. So yeah, I don't know what I really learned from that gameplay other than this still seems like it's pretty long when you're just gaining health. And had I been playing even a mid-game or an early game aggro type deck, I feel like I could have probably overwhelmed that strategy. And that really is a strategy that only works when effectively your opponent is doing almost nothing. So we need a plains, so we want a mulligan if we can once, and having that in your hand is probably a good move too. And this is the only way that you can win, so that kind of needs to be in your hand also. And gain 1 life. Alright, moving on with the news. TechRaptor has an article here. The Outer Worlds marketing curiously altered in Walmart stores. I wonder if it's because of just like a butt or what. The winking moon isn't where it should be. So this? Where's the winking moon? Down here. Oh, I guess that makes sense. They made it larger so it's not showing the gun because Walmart's been accused of being partially involved, although because they sell guns and ammunition, particularly I think Walmart is getting targeted just because it's probably one of the largest stores that sells guns and ammunition, and that isn't just a straight up gun store and would just ignore that. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. That's the exact thing you would expect from an overreacting executive. Is let's cover up the gun in the advertisements. Walmarts in particular tend to be in more rural areas where hunting for sport makes more sense, and people tend to hunt for sport. So they had a slightly better idea of a better reason to be selling the guns and ammo. But there's a pretty big push in the United States now to have even sporting goods stores not sell guns and ammo, which is fine with me. I would be happy if there was some way to regulate it, or just on the books have a pretty unenforceable law that said all guns must stay on guns ranges or designated hunting areas. But the idea of open carrying, or the idea of having let's see, 3 or more planes. I have no planes. Like, the idea of open carrying, or having a gun to protect your house or protect your person, or things like that are silly arguments in my mind. Inherently, to protect your person against the government, which is the ridiculous argument that's often made, is stupid. It just wouldn't work. Even SWAT teams have military style equipment. Unfortunately, they could easily take you out. So you're really just living in a fantasy world if that's what you're trying to do. And if you want to go to a gun range and shoot guns, fine, it could be a fun activity, but just keep the guns there. Of course, people will die on that hill, literally and figuratively, to have guns, just because, like, honestly, I think most people that rant about that too aren't super into shooting guns, because, like, I don't think shooting guns in the real world is that fun. I think it's just an argument that has been repeated in people's heads over and over again, and it's true for the other side too. That guns are dangerous, guns don't need to exist ever, guns shouldn't be allowed to exist, which in itself is also kind of a silly idea, that you would take adults' rights away that hadn't done anything to deserve their liberty being taken away. Scientists are allowed in extremely dangerous chemicals if they can prove a legitimate use. Construction workers are allowed pretty dangerous destructive explosives if they can show a legitimate use. So yeah. It's an argument designed to be a wedge issue between conservative and liberals in the United States, and it's never going to have any kind of finality to it, and yeah, really shouldn't. I would argue that the bigger problem in the United States is not access to guns. It is a gun mentality and a poverty issue and a mental health care issue that needs to be addressed. There are plenty of countries around the world where you can have a gun and people just are not of a culture or mentality in which they would ever think to go and shoot particularly random people, which we really have gotten in the United States far away from even shooting people that you might have a legitimate argument deserve it. It feels like in the 80s and earlier, you would at least more often go and shoot some ex-wife or shoot your boss or something like that. Now it's just become, I'm just gonna find the largest gathering of people and try to mow people down, and frankly, that is because of just mental health and poverty. Weirdly, it is actually a solution to mental health and poverty too, or poverty. If it happened in enough scale and nobody ever did anything about it, eventually there would be so fewer people around that the resources would be wide enough to go around spare. But the moral degradation and morale degradation you would experience throughout that Wild West purge scenario would be so devastating you wouldn't have a society at the end of it, which arguably I'm not sure how many societies exist nowadays are actually societies and not just a group of random people that happen to all live near each other. United States in particular being such a large landmass, that is a major issue, is that a lot of people are simply living next to somebody. They're not considering themselves to actually be a part of the same tribe or anything like that. Moving on back to video games, I got into a bit of a rant there. Game of Sutra has an article. Steam is nudging players to update early reviews after they've played more, which frankly that probably would be helpful. Some of these early reviews in particular of games often feel like they are just fake reviews. So if all of a sudden fake early reviews where they have only like an hour into a game get devalued, or reviews where they played for an hour and then reviewed it and then didn't say anything new got slightly devalued, that might work well. This is vigilance. I could attack with that, but yeah, that might help adjust and fix some of the problems with reviews on Steam, which Steam in general just doesn't have enough reviews. As I was going through the Halloween sale and just going through my wish list, since there's no like trading cards or mini game around the Halloween sale, I was just going and seeing what was discounted and what would potentially be something I would want to buy at that discount. I was also going through my wish list more often than not and just cleaning out my wish list, looking at some of the games and going, alright, now at this point in my life, am I really going to play this game? There's definitely some adult games, lewd games on the wish list that I wouldn't buy for myself, but if someone was to gift it to me, I wouldn't mind owning, even if I wasn't ever going to play it, just because I want to support that style of gameplay, the games to still exist and be made. I don't want to see the video game industry turn into the toy industry used to be for kids, but nowadays toys like Transformers are often bought by collectors also. But yeah, I wouldn't want the video game industry to just become the baby industry where it's only little kids are targeted in any real numbers. I don't think I've used this card at all. This probably is a card that's not necessary. But yeah, that's what I mostly did, was get rid of things that I no longer think I'd want to buy or play. Some of it really boils down to there's some games are good in their first release or their second issue in the series or their third game in the trilogy are well reviewed, but then the other two games in that trilogy are not well reviewed, so it becomes a very expensive proposition of potentially purchasing and owning 3 games to play one that's good and criticize that one, and then to just spotlight the other 2 games and point out, oh yeah, these actually aren't that good. And there's definitely some weirdness on Valve's side as far as if something is reviewed not good, it probably is pretty bad, because an older game that was good when it came out probably won't get enough reviews to shift its review even 5-10 years down the line to like a mixed review. So if something is super beloved like Portal 1, and then Portal 1 10-15 years down the line becomes a little bit dated and not as interesting because there's just newer games, it's highly unlikely Portal 1 would lose its review score. Let's see. Let's not do that yet. We want to do this. That way we can do this. And then that way we can do this. What does this do? 1 damage to each player. If you have 10 or less life, put a +1/+1 counter on Spawn of Mayhem. Alright. So he's going to become a +5/+5 pretty quickly. Valve also is apparently getting rid of a Steam key trading in general. Counter-Strike Go keys is what I mean there, not keys for other things. This is they basically came out and said, yeah, if people are trading keys to unlock loot boxes in Counter-Strike Go, they are almost 100% of the time doing it illegitimately to money launder. Which, okay. So, it seems like Valve is going to get rid of loot boxes in pretty much everything and start devaluing the marketplace for the Counter-Strike. I guess skins trading would still be a thing, but the keys and the loot boxes stuff will probably disappear. The hats, the loot, the skins will stay, and trading cards will stay. Although they may just eventually decide it's not worth it to have the marketplace exist at all, and so for that reason they may decide to just shut down everything. Let's see. Gain 1 life for each creature you control. If I played this, I really couldn't do anything. Let's see. Well, this would be 11. That actually wouldn't work super well. Can we win this turn? Probably not. This is probably the right move. Let's see. I don't think I can attack. This guy has trample, so he could do 5 damage to me anyways. which means I've just lost. Yeah, I don't know if I'm losing specifically because of the deck I've built or if I'm just losing in general. Like, yeah, I block with that, and then I block with that, and I lose. This definitely doesn't feel as good as my other deck. Let's see if we can go in here and figure out what the problem is. That probably doesn't need to be in there. So we could put in our beloved princess. Let's see. I'm not really using that, so let's get rid of that. I haven't even seen Fencing Ace. This one's... I haven't played enough. Let's see. This spell's probably too high. So, is there some kind of key? Like, learn more, adjust options. Is there some control key I could press to add more copies of certain cards? Because that would be what I'd like. That's probably not useful either. Probably need to also get some more planes in here instead of gaining life. So I could get rid of the reds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now control, click. No, that didn't do anything. Alright. Land. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm gonna try Alt click. Nope. Shift click. Nothing. Ah, the plus button. Great. So if you hover over there, we can do that. That would... So... 1, 2, 3. We don't have enough for that. A double strike character is probably not useful. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Is this useful? I don't think it is. But it does double your life total. That'd be super expensive. We may just have to find something else to put in here because I kind of don't have anything else. Actually, I was at 60 anyways. Alright. So a slight variation there. So we're still trying to figure out some stuff. Yep, I definitely sense that there's cards I would like to have. And I guess a lot of that is probably not Throne of Eldraine cards, but maybe it is Throne of Eldraine cards. It's gonna take a while, certainly. Like, it's almost like a quiz where you have to know what the core cards are, and you need to memorize all of that first before you do anything else. So, mulligan 1. So we have a plains card. Keep 6. And put that at the bottom of the deck. Now, when you put something in the bottom of your deck, does it get shuffled or not? Would be a great question to have answered, because I don't know. Yeah. Because it's totally a different scenario whether the card that you mulligan gets at the very bottom, meaning you're not likely to play it at all, versus it being at the just shuffled in, still having a decent chance of doing something that you could play. Exile top card. So he's playing a heavy aggro deck, which he is playing very fast, so dying pretty quickly. I don't know how much of this is my fault or theirs. Let's go and just play that. Moving on with the news, Gamma Sutra has an article. Epic is suing a Fortnite user experience tester over Chapter 2 leaks. Someone else is getting sued for selling mods. Like, seems like at least once a month we are getting a story where somebody somewhere is getting sued by a video game company, which frankly they don't have the money or the good capital, the moral goodwill to be suing people. There's better things they can be doing with their time. I feel like this game in particular is probably the best argument against playing a all-white deck that is around healing. That it just does not work. 3 or more planes. So put that on the field. And then attack. This one has vigilance, so there's no reason not to attack. Other than that, I suppose. That might have been a reason. Next story we have, Mary Skelter 2 has been banned in Australia. Not super surprising. Australia is particular. It's an adult game, so and Australia has been bad about allowing adult games on there. Mary Skelter Nightmares was able to get the R18 plus, Mary Skelter is the dungeon crawler with the anime character, anime girls. Well, in a funny way, this is actually going to take the action. There you go. Now I'm at 6 health instead of 1. So this is a good red card, Theater of Horrors. Seems like it works with a lot of other things. And so deal 5 damage and then discard 2 cards. So Mary Skelter 2, I believe, has a touching groping minigame, and that seems to be in particular what Australia has a problem with. Which, in a funny way, I mean, as far as lewd adult games go, the touching groping minigames are the new innovation, the new popular thing. So if you're legislating morality, which Australia seems to often try to do, even to adults, like I have no problem with them saying the game is adults only. It is an adults only game in my opinion, but to say even adults in Australia can't play the game is kind of crazy. Australia seems to have a growing lack of interest in Japanese products in general, and kind of a growing hate for them. At least the government does. I imagine the citizens that there's a large enough collection of Japanophiles in Australia as that there are in any other large country. But yeah. Australian politics on the world stage often get overlooked. It's a weird thing, but you know, as long as they're not starting a war somewhere, they're mostly ignored as this island that has no real people to conflict with. And I guess Australia won't run into a major conflict until some theoretical future in which China has taken complete control of the seas all around it, and there's having naval conflict with Australia. But in theory, that is Chinese imperialism's plan, is that they would just continuously expand into the Middle East, into Australia, into even Russia if they can get away with it, and into Europe. Like, complete global domination is their goal, just pushing the borders further and further.
Everything will be fine if we stand together.
And I mean, imagine if that's what the United States had been doing for the past 200 years, just pushing into Canada and Mexico, and then Central America and South America. The people would not be happy about that. Moving on, where's my mouse cursor? Sony Interactive Entertainment trademarks PS6, PS7, PS8, PS9, and PS10 in Japan. No surprise there. They almost certainly waited to release these patents until after they announced the PlayStation 5, just to tease and hint at maybe the idea. that maybe the PlayStation 5 wouldn't have been called the PlayStation 5. Although, frankly, I think that's kind of a silly concept to even begin to believe that would have been the case. If they were going to stop calling them PlayStations, they would have stopped calling them at the PlayStation 4 level, because 4, she is spelled like the word death, or sounds like the word death in Japanese, and that's why they often don't get to the number 4 in series. This doesn't synergize as well as I'd like it to. It just gives you +1 health. It doesn't trigger this ability twice. Where I really would have liked it to trigger that ability twice. Every block it does will just power up the guys. I have no card in this deck that would just destroy enemies. All I could do is silence them. Could return a card from the graveyard to the battlefield, which might be useful, but probably not. Here's an old story from Gamma Sutra. Report: Sony is looking to sell the PlayStation Vue as service continues to lose money. This report is old because now it has come out that they are going to straight up just shut it down. Which, honestly, with it being called the PlayStation Vue instead of Sony Plus or Sony Live Streaming or Sony On Demand or something like that, a lot of people didn't want to buy it because they didn't have a PlayStation. It wasn't really a great service by all accounts, and it just kind of failed to succeed, and now they're shutting it down. It, on a bigger side, seems very much like this is just more evidence that Sony in general is getting rid of everything PlayStation, or just handing it all over to the PlayStation, Sony Interactive Entertainment in California, which California right now is completely on fire, figuratively speaking, and somewhat literally speaking. So I don't know where you get the idea or the concept that it's a good idea to have your business run out of California. Probably gonna lose next turn.
Enough!
So you probably need this guy, this Planeswalker, to play a deck like what I'm playing. And as long as I don't have this Planeswalker, I'm doomed. Yeah. I think I'm pretty doomed. See, if I don't... Let's see. I guess what I could do is this, and this, and then this. Like, that one's gonna attack anyway, so that. And is there anything else we would want to do? Nope. So you play this, and then we don't have enough to do that, so we could only do this. So I can put that back on the field, but it's far too late. Far too late for that to work. And then we need something to attack if we were going to gain more health, and we can't really attack, so we just have to end the turn here. Yeah, I can really only just stretch this out so long. Yep. Yeah, it really is just my opinion, but I do suspect that they are getting to a level where Sony of Japan is just going to give up on caring about the PlayStation, and for this next generation at the very least. Maybe they'll come back and care for the next generation, but I'm not sure I really believe that either. I can't play this because I don't have a green. Oh. So some of these cards don't make sense in the kind of deck I'm building. They're too difficult to try and succeed. And I don't even have the card that lets me summon more characters if I had enough mana, and I don't have enough land to generate enough mana. Moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Uro 2, which looks like it's chibi anime characters. Oh, I don't know if you call this the chibi art style or if you would call this more of a Funko Pop art style, or with the big heads. I guess I'd call it chibi with big heads, not Funko Pop, because Funko Pop is lacking in detail. This looks like this is a music rhythm game or an infinite runner. Probably a Chinese game if I was to gamble. $14.99. English, Chinese, full audio Japanese, so a Japanese game. I guess the question to ask would be Uru 1. Let's see. If we go to this bundle info and we look at Uru 1, you can see it's mixed reviewed. So the sequel to it, probably not much better than the first game. Yeah, and it doesn't look particularly interesting, so yeah. Uru 2 not going to the fall list. Now I need to find some blockers, which means I have to block that, and block that, and let's see, block that, I guess. Or, you know what, block that with that. And we'll see how this works. Let's see. I could get more health, but that's all I can do. Yep. These games just turn really difficult. I gotta figure out a way to make a white deck that is super aggro. If I'm gonna play white decks, it needs to be way more aggro, way faster. There are just play styles I'm not willing to play, and something super long like this is an exact example of something I don't want to play. Alright. So this has to block that. I can't block that one, so alright. So you block that one, you block that one. And we block that one. And then that's pretty much the best we can do. I don't think I'm even gonna go for a third recording today. And I'm not gonna modify the deck anymore either, so there's something I need to do off screen here, just trying to look at all the cards a second time. I think it's gonna be make knights or focus around flying more and get away from healing, because healing is proving to not have a good win ratio at all. And yeah, there's so few games to talk about today. We can just burn through all the games, and there's some little news to talk about today with the Extra Lifer streaming and that event happening. That, yeah, and just the season itself, Halloween and such. That I'll just want to burn through the news and move on. Yep, I'm just gonna keep 7. Maybe I should just always keep 7 and the mulligan's a mistake. If the mulligan is a mistake, it probably means that the amount of mana, or the mana I have, is a mistake. But I do have a tendency to run into an issue here where I'm low on cards to play. Let's see. Put that on the field. Put that on the field. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam here called Pentagonal Saloon 2. This looks like an asset flip game. Nothing here looks particularly interesting. 99 cents discounted, a whole bunch of languages, 44 achievements. I have no idea what this even is supposed to be. I'm calling it a puzzle adventure game full of parties. Solve the unique puzzle, join the parties, find your equipment, collect the ticket to the big party. That sounds really like it. That is just a random generated thing. Like a random generation of words. Discard 2 cards? Seriously? I want to discard 2 cards. Oh, I need that card. I need that card. Man, that's painful. To play this. To play this. All attack. Next game we have on Steam is Atelier Rydo, Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout. This is the latest Atelier game that I really want to play. Unfortunately, right now it seems like some people are not happy about the PC version of this, and that seems to be about the main complaint. So I'm gonna leave this on the fall list. It's $59.99, but then you probably need the bonus feature, depending on what the bonus actually is, for $71.99. It's not this bonus adventure, it's something else. Costumes, hideout parts. I heard that on Dragon Quest 11, you can pretty much automate all the battles, so you're barely ever even playing. That makes Dragon Quest 11 for me sound pretty attractive because if I don't have to mash buttons all the time, then I don't wear out my fingers as much playing the game. Although ideally for these JRPGs, I would like to be able to just have fewer battles and less grinding and just have the game do its thing. He's destroying all my cards, but perhaps too late, because this is not an activated ability, so it still activates. Like, this non-activated ability activates still when you play a character, so as long as I can put one character on the field.
I am your greatest fear.
This guy has 5, so just take him out immediately.
My dreams dissipate like smoke.
So there's something missing here with the recommendations right now. Steam's website in particular is just terrible, but the read more button, either I got rid of that or they got rid of it, so this just keeps going down and it's missing from everything. Lack of optimization and standard features such as anti-aliasing are unacceptable. These jaggies are jarring. Quit treating your PC customers with spite, KT. Look at the mixed ratings and think about all the sales you're losing. Fix your port. Koei Tecmo, I assume is KT. The previous Atelier game, Atelier Sophia, one of the previous Atelier games, of which there seems to be like 25, is reviewed pretty well. So if Koei Tecmo fixes it and patches a lot of the problems, and we get out of the mixed reviews, Atelier Rydo is potentially a JRPG I want to play. Although, in all fairness, it probably is, with its alchemy system, a little bit in a weird position as just something slightly different than a standard JRPG, and Dragon Quest would make a lot more sense. He just pulled a card out of my graveyard. That's insulting. Yeah. That is insulting to pull a card out of my own graveyard to defend yourself. It's a shame. Atelier Rydo should have been a perfect port. Let's see. If the player doesn't draw 3 cards. Sure, I will take 4 damage and then otherwise move on. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Mind Your Manas, which is clearly a card game, but the art doesn't look particularly good or polished. So it's an indie card game, which the odds that people would play this are pretty low. $8.99 English only, 11 achievements. I'll put it on the follow list because I'm a sucker and always looking out for new card games, but like honestly this one doesn't even need to be on the follow list. It is not of a level of visual polish that it would compete against the other card games that already exist. And there's definitely not enough room in my life for 2 card games. There's barely enough room in my life for 1 card game. Particularly MTG Arena is, if I was to really play it at least 210 victories every day to get all the XP, I would be playing all the time, and I just don't have that free time. Let's see. It's Mulligan. And then he'll concede, and we'll get a great quick victory, which is great. Yeah. These quick victories, I assume, have to do with just connection issues. Let's see. Next game we have on Steam is called Quest for Conquest, which is kind of a redundant sounding name. Doesn't look like there's much here. Maybe I'm getting a little too judgy, but no, this does just look like it's kind of a side-scrolling tower defense equivalent. Army versus army gameplay. $3.99 English full audio. Yeah, I don't think that needs to be on the fall list. Yeah. So do we want to mulligan? See, this will enter the field if you have a plains. These won't. So when you start this, you immediately have to play something like this because you don't want to heal and waste these cards. You want to get this out on the 2nd or 3rd turn. So you play that. That still doesn't help. Let's see. Gamatsu has for the PC, PS4, and smartphone Genshin Impact TVOT travel highlight. First visit to Mondstadt. I have no idea, that's a whole mess of words for a game I don't think I recognize. But it looks like it's a big 3D JRPG game. It's due out worldwide in 2020. So some new JRPG from a series I don't recognize, Genshin Impact, I imagine. I assume it's a series and not the beginning of a new series, which it could be that also. TechRaptor has this article, we already talked about this. New Counter-Strike Go keys can no longer be traded, old ones can be, but those keys will quickly be traded, and it's questionable whether those old keys that can be traded now are super more valuable. I could easily see, if I had a Counter-Strike key that could be traded, I would sit on it for 6 months to a year and then sell it at a very high price, like $5, $10, $20, maybe even $100, if there's a reason for people to buy the keys at that level, which maybe there isn't a reason for people to buy the keys at that level. But yeah, I think loot boxes and keys are going to quickly go the way of the dodo and the dinosaur. Just, we won't be seeing those, I think, on many marketplaces going forward, with the exception of, oh, seriously? With the exception of potentially EA storefronts. EA games are, I think we already talked about this, coming back to Steam, although it's potentially the way they're coming back may not be as interesting as it sounds. And you pretty much are going to have to cross that boycott line and cross that picket line or I am, because it's probably a smart move as a video game reviewer to get a bunch of EA games when they show back up on Steam so that I have them in case they leave Steam again. But that means I'd be giving money to EA, who really doesn't deserve it. Just because of all the shady stuff they've done. But on the other hand, maybe this is the beginning of EA turning over a new leaf. That's hard to believe that would be actually the case, but maybe, just maybe, with them coming to Steam, that they're gonna stop doing a bunch of the terrible microtransaction stuff they do. Particularly, they might also see the writing on the wall and see that government legislation is not going to let them do the terrible microtransaction stuff they do. Moving on, Komatsu has an article for the Switch. Goodfeel announces a top-down shooter called Monkey Barrels for the Switch. Alright. Looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter. That's pretty much all that needs to be said there, I guess. I can't play these cards because I don't have a black. I can't play this because I don't have a green. This could be blocked, so I can't really attack. Gamatsu has a smartphone article here. Tales of Castoria is delayed past 2019. Administrators of World Order characters, character rooms, and attachments detailed. So, whatever smartphone game this is that they were working on has been delayed. It's part of, I assume, the Tales series, Tales of Things. And yeah. It looks like it's gonna be a smartphone JRPG. And they're just trickling out information while also delaying it, which says something weird. Right. This could return something from the graveyard, which wouldn't be a bad idea, actually. This. From the graveyard, place there. And then we've got nothing. They can block a flying creature, so put that on the field or attack with that. Where am I? Duplicate tabs, that's where I am. Yeah. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Shigeru Miyamoto named a person of cultural merit by the Japanese government. I think he might be the first person ever named this, given this title. I suppose it is effectively like getting a knighthood in the UK. I'm not sure if there's going to be a growing list of people that could earn this title, particularly. It's a weird thing for a Japanese government to do, and it shows a possible potential shift in Japanese mentality, because the Japanese mentality has always been everybody is the same, nobody is important other than the emperor. That you don't want to stand out in the crowd. In the video game industry and the arts creation industry in Japan in particular, people have been bucking that trend, and more celebrities are coming out and being popular, individualized celebrities. The rise of pop groups in Japan, like those groups often have 4, 5, 10, 20, 30 people in it because nobody wants to be the only person standing out of the crowd. So yeah, the idea of individual exceptionalism is kind of a foreign concept to Japan, and them embracing it might be a good thing. On the other hand, the United States heavily preaches a religious dogma around the idea of individual exceptionalism, and then blames all the people who don't succeed for any reason in their life for by claiming they aren't individually exceptional, which may or may not be true in many cases, but is hardly a good reason to go down that path. Right. So I wanted to pump up this guy as much as possible, so I'm gonna attack with this. If he blocks with this, fine. If he doesn't, fine. I'm moving on. TechRaptor has an article here. I made a mistake. Come to think of it, I do need to break up this recording at the end of this. I thought I was close to the end as far as tabs, and I'm nowhere close to the end. That explains a lot. Anyways, TechRaptor has this game called Still There, launching for PC and Switch November 20th, which, let's see what this video is. We have a minute-long video of a character floating in space, and then it seems like they mostly spend their time on a spacecraft or in space doing a kind of adventure, point-and-click adventure style game. Alright, we'll see if people like that and if it gets good reviews. Yeah, I have so many tabs. Like, I thought I don't even know what I was thinking, come to think of it. Like, I thought I had considerably less. Thought we were close to being done. TechRaptor has an article here. Railroad Corporation exits early access in November. This is one of the many railroad sim games out there, or strategy games. This one seems like it's more of a strategy game than a sim game. Again, we'll just have to wait and see whether that is. I have all this mana, and none of it does me any good right now, because I have 3 cards in your hand. I don't think there's ever a point where you're supposed to have 3 cards in your hand. Can we do that at least? No. That you can't play. Yeah, 3 cards in your hand you can't play. Magic the Gathering is doing a festival of the Fae for Magic Arena starting November 3rd. There will be a artisan event that costs 2,500 gold. You build a 60 card standard constructed deck using uncommons and uncommons with the banned cards: Cauldron of Familiar, Cavalcade of Calamity, Gates Ablaze, and Persistent Petitioners. It's funny that they're bothering to make these special events, but I imagine these special events also are things they've already created for other playstyles in Paper Magic or Magic Online. You get card styles, so it does seem like you're just constantly going to get card styles. So I kind of wonder, is it a case that if you wanted all the card styles ever, do you at that point how do you play that if you want every card style? Do you buy the card styles and have to do all of these events, or can you do one or the other, and can you free to play it and get all the card styles? Then does that just hurt people that bought the card styles from the storefront? I don't know. I suspect you're getting card styles and cards, if you don't have those cards already, for commons and uncommons. In the purchasable ones, I suspect are actually from, well, actually, let's do this, and this attack, and then before we do that, let's put that on the field too. And then chapter 2 is an event where each player begins the game with a 60 card deck containing only basic cards and an Oko's Whims emblem that gives you certain abilities. Creatures you control have a base power and toughness of 33 and are elks in addition to their own type. Pay 1, discard a card, create a token that's a copy of a random creature with converted mana cost 8 or less. Activate this ability only anytime you cast a sorcery. And that also costs 2,500 gold. And let's see, some other creatures tokens can appear. 5 wins gives you card skins and cards again. Then the chapter 3 is each player begins the game with a Maelstrom Nexus emblem, and that's 2,500 gold with some banned cards. Rewards up to 5 wins, losses not counted. So for what seems like the entirety of the month, you are just going to be able to he destroyed my one card I needed. Yeah, it seems like for the entirety of the month you're gonna have these things that cost a lot of gold, so I need like 7,500 gold each month for these festivals just to get card skins, which probably isn't the best use of my finances and my free-to-play gold. Honestly, I probably could do better during drafts and getting cards that way, because none of those seemed like they were drafts where you get to keep the cards at the end. If I could keep a whole bunch of uncommons and commons from Throne of Eldraine, I really am at that point, since I'm so new to the game, where that makes sense. That really wouldn't make sense any other time. And getting more than the maximum 4 only barely does anything for you. Okay. Let's see. Probably could attack and buff this guy up quite a bit if I needed to or wanted to. I feel like I got rid of the green mana and then forgot to get rid of this card, but that also seems like that would have been the case with this. Or maybe I did. Maybe I got rid of the black mana and the green mana. So we have a flying blocker. So I'm gonna attack, and attack, and let's go ahead and not attack with those two. Actually, I should have attacked with something else. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Star Trek Fleet Commander publisher Scopely has netted $200 million for future acquisitions. I don't feel like Star Trek Fleet Command was a particularly successful game. Also worked on The Walking Dead Road to Survival, which I don't think was successful, and Looney Tunes World of Mayhem, which I don't think was also very successful either. So, yeah. That's a weird one. But they got the money anyway, so I guess they're probably happy. And I got a new card, which is useful, and 25 experience. We're still getting experience. That's gonna be it for this recording. We went long because I thought I was a lot further along than I was with the news. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list. The Halloween sale is going on right now. Would be a great time to gift. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.